Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. This is Joe with the Local Search Association, and I would like to welcome you all to LSA's webinar series. Today's webinar is titled Local Mobile Presence, From National Brands to SMBs, and will be brought to you by our guest presenter, Gideon Rubin from Local Market Launch. With that, let's get started. Over to you, Gideon.
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to be speaking for about 20 minutes today, and then after that I'm going to take your questions. One thing to note is you can follow me at Gideon Rubin on Twitter, and you can have updates, hashtag updates, with additional information related to the slides and sources of any of the research and content in this webinar. In addition to that, we're going to provide a special offer good for the month of October, and that special code will be mentioned at the end of this webinar so that you can go ahead and get a no-cost business listings management package. So included in the free offer today that we're going to be providing for business listings management solution, we've got our local mobile landing pages, claimed profiles across the top 30 search, social, directory sites, and mobile apps, and syndication across the top 4 base data providers, which includes Factual, Infogroup, Axiom, and Locally's Newstar. In addition to that, we wrap all of it in transparent reporting so you can see up-to-date information on how your business is doing across all the major search, social, directory sites, and mobile apps. So to get started here, what we're going to be covering in this webinar is up on the screen on this agenda. We're going to talk first about context as far as how local mobile search fits into the local ad market. When you look at the total internet spend for local online advertising, you can see it's only about 18% of the total advertising spend in the local market. So that might be surprising to some people because we all see all these stats about how fast mobile is growing and how strong the internet is. The reality is it's not just about the importance of the total size of the market, it's about who's in that market. So for example, when you're doing your direct mail, newspaper, TV, or radio spend in the local market, oftentimes consumers react in a different way than you exactly intend. So a consumer may see a print ad or a TV ad and do a search on their mobile phone while they're watching TV or reading the newspaper. So what we've found from past research is 20 to 28% of responses to offline ads result in some type of online action. So the consumer may go in and type a search for the product or service into their browser on their mobile phone or into an app on their phone or Google on their desktop for that matter. So it's important to realize that it's not just about the direct market that you're addressing through mobile, it's about the return on investment for your entire local marketing spend. So again, the local mobile market, what's so important about this is intent. What do the consumers want that are using their mobile devices? As you can see, 50% of mobile queries have local intent and 90% take action as a result. If you could build landing pages that had 90% response rates, you'd be doing something that most of your competitors have no way of doing. And the reality is that on mobile, you can get response rates like that based on research and information that we've seen in the market. It's not just the engines. So when thinking in terms of mobile, it's not just about the search engines on mobile because consumers search for different information in different ways. So if they want to see what the hottest nightclub is, they may do some searches on Twitter or Facebook to see what their friends have said and see what other people have suggested. If they want to find a great restaurant, they might use Yelp, which has, as you can see, over 90 million visitors a month. And if they want someone to provide service to their home, they might use Merchant Circle or City Search or YP on an app. So there are hundreds of millions of visitors across these non-traditional search engines. And the reality is, depending on what type of market your business is in, you need to be on those directories, on those mobile apps, and across those social sites. So people use apps, social media, and search engines for different reasons. And as you can see, apps, oftentimes people use apps because they have a pretty good sense of how to search for that particular product or service. Again, for example, restaurant on Yelp. They know that that's a better source of restaurant information than using Google because Google may give them more general information, whereas Yelp is going to hone into restaurant-based information. Something like an urban spoon would be even more relevant, and it just cuts down the clutter that the consumer goes through on search. So you have to keep in mind why the consumer is searching, what they're searching for, and realize that it's not just about the engines. So now I want to go into some of the differences between national brands and small businesses. One of the major ones that comes up frequently with our partners and customers is call tracking numbers. Call tracking numbers are great for paid media. That's what they're really built for. You can get down to the granular level, including keyword by keyword on your paid search campaigns. And they have a great benefit to be able to track ROI in all your different types of marketing. But the reality is they're not great to put out in your business listings, because every time you have a consistent name, address, and phone number out there, that's a vote for your business on the search engines. So every time you have a different phone number, such as a call tracking number, that vote isn't typically counted, and in fact, that particular profile may be discounted by the search engines because the information doesn't match what the search engines see out there on the rest of the internet. So we don't recommend that you provide them in your business listings profiles. However, a great way to track some of these efforts is by putting it on your local mobile landing pages. And the best way to do this is by providing the call tracking number as a graphic file or JPEG to the consumer when they look, and provide the actual local phone number in the HTML on the page, so that when Google and the other engines spider that page, that correct, consistent information shows up for them. That counts as an additional vote for your business and hopefully pushes you up in the search engine rankings. So another difference between SMBs and national brands is part of the verification or claiming process for individual profiles. So when you have SMBs or national brands, there's very different ways that they come into the sales process typically. So an SMB oftentimes is sold a direct product or purchases a direct product through a website, and they can be asked for their individual manager name for that physical location or who's in charge of the marketing at that location. Versus with a national brand, oftentimes a corporate office or someone in the marketing department is making the decision and may not have each individual contact at each individual location, which makes the verification and claiming process more challenging. Because the best way to do claiming and verification is by having a contact at each individual business location and then facilitating that through the major search, social, and directory sites so that that person can be contacted and provide the code to the directory or to their service provider who's handling their business listings management. Now, IVRs and call centers are another challenge for national brands or multi-locations. If a business is using an IVR or a call center, there are ways to work around this, but it can be a challenge. So some ways to work around this are shutting off the IVR, for example, and letting it go to the individual locations, or notifying the call center that's using that's working for the national brand, and then providing them with instructions on how to claim and verify each business and provide those codes to the service provider or to the directories. It can be very challenging, a lot of education. At Local Market Launch, we've built a lot of technology and a lot of education materials around this, and have been successful in doing this type of verification and claiming, but it's not an easy process. Scaling of SMBs is another challenge when it comes to verification and claiming. It's one thing to be able to verify or claim an individual SMB. It's a whole other story when you talk about hundreds or thousands of SMBs. Again, because you have to have a very streamlined process in order to do this in a timeline and format that the SMBs can deal with. People typically that are the contact at an SMB are very busy. They're busy running the business. They're the manager at that location, or they're in charge of marketing, or oftentimes they're the owner of the business. So they don't have time to spend taking on multiple phone calls or multiple contacts in order to do this verification process. We typically do this in 5 to 7 minutes, all in one shot, and everything's pre-set up so that that individual at the location doesn't have to do much beyond get on a chat window and go ahead and go through the process using our verification specialists. When you talk about brand ownership, it's a very big difference between national brands and SMBs, but also there are some differences between corporately owned locations and franchisees. When you talk about corporately owned, oftentimes they think in terms of, okay, well, we only want one Facebook profile for all of our locations because we want to control that brand out of one central place. The reality is that individual locations probably already have Facebook pages, probably already have Foursquare profiles of some sort, because consumers are checking in at these businesses. Consumers are creating these profiles, and if the corporate entity doesn't take control of them, then the consumers are in control of the brand on the local level, which can be challenging to take that back. So that's one consideration. On the franchisee-franchisor level, oftentimes there are other considerations like brand consistency and messaging consistency. And with the franchisee situation, what we recommend oftentimes is that the franchisor set up the approved information and then allow the franchisee to provide updates and things of that nature, while the profile is still controlled by the franchisor, so that they get consistency of brand across all of their profiles and locations. When you talk about, again, the individual locations, the importance here is localized content. You want to be having a one-to-one relationship with consumers in the local market. They want to know what's going on at their local location, not just on the national level. There can also be challenges when dealing with the local versus national, things such as if a consumer puts a complaint up on the Facebook page about a bathroom or a negative experience they had at a restaurant or a particular location of the business, you don't necessarily want that on the corporate national Facebook page. You want the business manager at the individual location to be able to respond to that issue and go ahead and have a human touch. Tell them to come back in and try again. But you don't want that messaging across all of your locations at a national level. So those are some social media considerations, and let's jump into a Texas Roadhouse case study to see what they did. This case study is from Street Fight magazine, and basically what happened here is they transitioned from this national profile to these individual locations, and they did so for the specific reason of connecting with the local consumer and having a conversation with the local consumer. Because after all, social media is social. It's really meant to have that communication and that direct connection. And if you're just broadcasting at a national level, you're not creating that individual localized connection for the consumer, and you don't have the same level of engagement. So I'd like to jump into tactics at this point. We've talked a little bit about kind of the why and some of the trends happening as far as the movement from a national profiles to individual location profiles. But now let's talk about how to show up in mobile local searches. Again, we talk in terms of a universe of local mobile searches, not just the search engine. So we're talking about the directories, social sites, mobile apps, even in-car devices and GPS devices. So some of the important things here to remember are complete and consistent NAPW, which is name, address, phone number, and website or URL, as well as enhanced data. Enhanced data is additional data points such as hours of operation, payment types, photos, languages spoken, descriptions, and other information. In this profile you see on the Yelp app, this is before data enhancement. So on the left side you see an incorrect address. You see not much information here. On the right side you don't even see a photo, you don't see much in the way of descriptions or anything else. So the credibility here is very low for the consumer when they come to this profile. Now you see after data enhancement, it's the same business. It's been moved a few blocks, and it's actually in the correct location now, and it has the correct address. And then on below that, you can see more info, so there's additional information available. But on the right side, you see credibility. Think in terms of a landing page. Now you've got something that will convert. So you've got photos, great photos of the business, some of which were taken and uploaded by consumers, and you've got reviews and other information so that the consumer can make a good decision when they're going to consider this restaurant and possibly eat at it. So that was on the mobile phone. Now talking about mobile devices, we also take a very broad view of mobile devices. So Google's new carousel here on the tablet, this is an iPad view, for example, shows you these photos across the top on the carousel. Well, if you don't have a photo, you're probably not going to show up in the first few listings. As you can see here, Carlito's Cafe y Cantina has no photo, so they're just having a map shown, which is not an ideal situation. But some of the things to keep in mind and how you show up to the left side of this carousel: completeness of the profile, again, enhanced data, consistent name, address, phone number, and URL. Visual appeal, things like photos, videos, additional content is going to help you show up. Reviews are great for votes for your business for Google. So as you can see, the businesses to the left side of this carousel view are the ones with higher reviews typically, more reviews, not just better reviews. So that's a significant consideration, as well as freshness of data. That's another point here that will allow Google to say, oh, this business information is being updated, it's probably credible information, and it's probably of value to the consumer. So local mobile landing pages. Some of the things to consider here: everyone talks about responsive design. Responsive design is very important, but it's even more important to think of consumer intent. What does the consumer want when they're doing a local mobile search? What do they want as the results? Well, typically businesses want, as in this UPS example on the mobile phone here, they want an address, they want a phone number, they want directions, hours of operation, and they want to be able to contact via email or phone this business. So they don't need the same information that you need to provide them on the desktop view. So it's not just about making the desktop view viewable on a mobile device, it's about really thinking in terms of what is the consumer intent when they're going to this site on a mobile device, and how can I deliver the best experience possible. Conversion rates will be impacted by having this different type of mobile local landing page versus just a responsive design landing page. There are other components up on the slide, such as canonical URL and IP geotargeting. Some of the best ways to kind of overall indicate to Google and the other search engines that this is a local mobile landing page and has a great result for the consumer is by providing local metadata with geotags in the HTML. So latitude and longitude, for example, as well as additional information such as nearby cities and towns and other address information is very valuable for Google to really see that this is the right response to show to a consumer when they're doing this type of search. Claimed business profiles is another component of showing up in local mobile search. So these are some directory search engines and social sites up on the screen here. And the reality is you will show up better on these sites if you have a claimed profile. So one example of this is this case study that was done with Sterling Laundry here locally in Santa Barbara. This laundry hadn't done much as far as their local listings. As you can see, they did a decent job of showing up in search as far as their rankings. But once they had these claimed profiles, they very quickly moved up to first place for a lot of their key terms, their keywords that they were trying to rank for. And from anecdotal information that the business told us, they actually had a 30% increase in business. Now that's a huge business increase. Keep in mind that this is in a smaller local market in Santa Barbara, and this is a laundry, which is not necessarily the most competitive space when it comes to online marketing. So if you have a plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills, for example, they have deep pockets and a lot of money to spend on marketing, and oftentimes they need to spend a lot to compete in that market. They're in a big market, they're in a highly competitive market with deep pockets, so they need to do business listings management as the fundamental basic first step. But in addition to that, they may need to work with a specialized SEO provider to add on to that and provide a greater boost to the rankings. We don't sell business listings management as a rankings product, although it does have significant value for search engine rankings. We sell it as a local visibility product, again, across all the major sites that a consumer may search. So going back to the carousel view here on an iPad, this shows the difference between claimed listings with enhanced, well, it's not fully enhanced data, but claimed listings with data versus an unclaimed business profile. On the left, you have Stella Barra Pizzeria, which is a local pizza place, and you see they rank pretty well to the left side. They look legitimate. They have good information for the consumer. This is something that looks credible for a consumer when they come here, and they can get the information they need about the business. On the right side, you have an unclaimed listing by Pizza Hut Restaurant. Obviously, Pizza Hut is spending a lot more money than Stella Barra Pizzeria on their marketing. However, they haven't done this fundamental step of claiming this profile on Google. Google will create a local landing page for you if you don't create one. So on the right side, you have one created by Google and basically controlled by Google. And if you want to keep control of your brand and your business, it's very important that you claim all of these profiles. And the other thing to note about this is that here, when you have this unclaimed profile on the right side, there's not, the information might not even be accurate. There's nothing verifying this information here. So the consumer may be even worse than not having a credible landing page. The consumer may be sent to the wrong location or be given the wrong phone number. Many of these profiles are even hijacked. So another pizza place may have inserted their phone number or otherwise in this listing because it's unclaimed. So you're really taking some risks both on the consumer level as well as other parts of your business when you don't claim these profiles. Another major local search factor is citations. So as you can see, authority, consistency, quality, and quantity are all important factors when it comes to citations. Think of citations as link building or links to your website. Again, additional votes or indicators for the search engines that this is a credible, valuable website. When it comes to mobile, it gets a little bit more interesting because with mobile, it's so new, you don't need as many citations. You don't need as high of an authority on the citations that you have. What you do want is indicators that this is relevant for mobile. So you want sites with mobile authority. You want sites that are mobile optimized, linking to your website and linking to your local landing pages, which is even better. So you want industry relevant domains with mobile indicators. You want quality links that are relevant, and you want to make sure that these links all go to your local mobile landing page or something along the lines of an owner-verified Google Plus local page, which is also can be used as your local landing page. So citations at scale. This is really important for national brands, franchises, multi-locations. It's also important for SMBs in highly competitive markets. Citations at scale, as you can see here from getlisted.org, their local search ecosystem slide here, gives you an indication of the importance of Infogroup, Newstar Localese, Factual, and Axiom. They're really the coverage providers when it comes to the base data that all these directories, search sites, social sites, and even the mobile apps and GPS devices are using. So if you want to get in and across all of these sites, you want to get into these syndication providers. The best case scenario is really to go to a vendor that works with all four, because putting them together has an extreme amount of value and cost savings for you. The other component of that is that experts can go in and select categories. For example, on Axiom, there are about 14,000 categories, and there are differences between selecting a category such as dentist and oral surgery or geriatric specialty care for dentistry. So there are all these different nuances here that allow you to show up more times in local search and are extremely valuable to show up for rankings. So when you talk about this ecosystem, again, there's a lot of value in working with a partner to go ahead and work with you across all four major base data providers, and as well as claim the, as well as take these individual providers and optimize each individual one. The other thing to remember here is freshness of data. All these directories, not only do they take data from these four major providers, but they take data from 60 to 80 sources. Oftentimes they prioritize based on who's paying them, as well as the freshness of the data. At Local Market Launch, we push out this data anywhere from once a week to once a month, depending on the provider. And this freshness stamp tells the directories, oh, this is new, accurate data. Let me push this to the top of the list, and it's much more likely to be published so that you're actually correcting your information across the web. The other thing to remember here is it's not just about these directories, but these directories are constantly being scraped and syndicated, so you'll be continuously gaining new citations over time, and there's a lot of value to that in your link building efforts overall and in your SEO efforts. So thank you everyone for spending the time to listen today. I hope I've provided more information about the local mobile search market, and I want to go ahead and give that special offer code. Please go ahead and email me, tweet me, or connect with me, and you can send it over to me. This special offer code is LSA1011. That's LSA 1011. And if you provide this offer code to me via email, Twitter, or any other method, but by October 31st at midnight, we will be providing that free business listings management package, which again includes the local mobile landing page, claiming verification, and profile enhancement and optimization across the top 30 search, social, directory sites, and mobile apps, as well as base data syndication across Factual, Axiom, Infogroup, and Localese, and of course our great transparent reporting, which can be white labeled and branded so that you can provide this free opportunity to one of your customers or an individual location and still manage the brand on the reporting so that it's your brand that they see, so they get a great experience and love working with you. So thank you very much for coming, and please reach out to me with any questions.
Okay, we have a few questions that came in. How does it work between a franchisee and franchisor when you're trying to implement a program?
So for local market launch, we've built a lot of technology and infrastructure around scale. And this is one of those considerations when it comes to scale, because you've got a franchisor. They want to control the national brand and make sure that the branding is consistent with their overall efforts. So what we do is we take in information from the franchisor, put it in a database, everything from photos that have been approved, taglines, descriptions of the business, and other information. We enhance this information, so we might provide a short, medium, long description. We might add hours of operation. We verify the locations, make sure that the zip codes match up with the town that it says that it's in, and so on. We put this all into a database. Then the franchisee can go in with a special code or their location, bring up this information, select which information they want, and then customize it and add additional data points that are relevant for that local location. Things such as we're on the cross streets of State and First. We have 17 parking spaces. The manager's name is Bob Jones, and things like this, so that they get that really local feel out of it, and they have control of their marketing, because in the end, depending on the way that the franchisor works as far as their marketing and how, if it's co-op or otherwise, they really want to support these franchisees, so they may pay for part of the spend, and the franchisee may pay for the rest of it, but ultimately the franchisee wants some control, and the franchisor needs a certain level of brand control. So we balance this using technology, and it's a database-driven solution that they can really pick and choose what's relevant for them, and it can be customized.
What are some challenges of servicing SMBs at scale?
One of the major things that I mentioned earlier is really the verification process. So things like needing a location contact at each individual location, very important. A lot of businesses can do business listings management on a small scale. So they can go ahead and they can do 10, 20, or even hundreds of SMBs in a month. Doing this at large scale, thousands of SMBs a month, is a whole different challenge. It can't be done on spreadsheets and via CSV files. It really has to be done using technology. We've spent a lot of time and money building significant amounts of infrastructure and technology, as well as process flows, to deal with thousands of locations per month on an SMB level and give each individual location the feeling that they're getting a high level of service and they're getting the results that they're looking for. So this comes down to tracking, as far as tracking results and when information is published, what's accurate on those directories, really tracking across the top directories as well as syndication and pushing it out. So the challenges come into selecting keywords and all sorts of other information, but we couple technology with human intelligence, and this allows us to use things like machine learning so that over time we get better and better and faster at building out business profiles for these SMBs. So these are some of the considerations and some of the issues, but the reality is it always comes back to trust with the SMBs. So if they're being sold by one of our partners with a certain brand name, we call and communicate with that business on behalf of the partner, and they have that feeling of trust, and they're really taken care of. Everything's tracked on a very granular level so that the partner can provide customer service and we can provide the type of service that we need to provide to end up with a high quality result for these individual locations.
What's the most important component of business listing management for the end customer?
Typically, they want results. It's the old saying of they want phone rings and door swings. So that's very important to them. But when it comes to local visibility, some of the things you should really be looking at are coverage. Are you in the right markets you need to be? If you're a restaurant, you need to be on Yelp. You need to be on some of these properties that cater more towards the restaurant audiences. If you're a service provider like a plumber, you need to be on apps like YP's new app and other service provider related sites. So relevancy is very important. The other thing is they want to see that they get what they paid for. So transparency and reporting is very important, which is a big reason why we provide simple and easy to read reports for the end business owner so they can go in and see where they're at any given time. It's a messy space. It's not perfect, but over time we can really clean up their listings and give them great results on the search engines, on the individual profiles, and ultimately increase those phone swings and those door swings and phone rings. And that's ultimately what they want. They want more business, and they want to also, the reality is a lot of the SMBs especially, they would want to be able to check that box. Yes, I'm digital. Yes, I'm online. To them, it's so fundamental. It's like having a sign in front of your business. So you need that sign in front of your business online, not just when people drive by. So you need to broaden your audience and make sure that when consumers are searching for your product and service, you have that billboard, that signage online, and that's really what the business profiles are.
How does listing management work for SMBs such as plumbers where their physical address is not as important? Can you share benefits of your solution for these types of SMBs?
Well, one thing we've done for these types of SMBs is we would consider this a service area business. So certain things we can do for them is if their address isn't that important, so they don't necessarily even want people walking into their physical location, on some directories we can hide the address, and some of the things that we work on are focusing on what towns do they service, what regions do they service. In some of these directories we can actually manually go out and build a service area on a map. So we can really make sure that they're going to show up in that service area, that they're going to be relevant for that service area. So these are things that we take on, that we do for these types of businesses that have a great impact for them. The other thing, as I mentioned earlier, things like syndication, and when the profiles are being enhanced and claimed, it's important for additional keywords to be used and categories to be selected that make sure they show up in as many searches as possible so that they'll get the most bang for their buck and the greatest benefits for a service like ours. So these individual business owners or the people managing the marketing will really start to see that they're getting benefit from this service, and hopefully they'll want to continue it year after year.
You talked about the importance of knowing where your audience is searching. Can you describe how your team is finding out where industry-specific audiences are looking for their businesses?
Well, some of it's fairly straightforward. So again, Urban Spoon for restaurants, for example, or Open Table. And some of it's a little less obvious. So we know information about each individual directory. So for example, Merchant Circle is great with things like home services and some other types of business offerings. And so we know this because we work intimately with these individual directories. We also have custom packages. And these custom packages, we work with our partners to create vertical specific solutions. For example, an auto dealer. Well, Yelp may be important, but something like an Urban Spoon is obviously not relevant at all. But there are other sites that are extremely important to them, like Dealer Rater. They want to be on Dealer Rater. They want to be on dealer-specific sites where consumers are searching for their cars or for their next dealer. So it's really important to deliver for that individual industry a solution that's relevant to them. It's also really important when you talk about the competitive environment, the competitive landscape. There are several providers out there that do general business listings management. They have different solutions and different approaches, but very few that do anything along the lines of what we're doing in terms of the verticalization of search, really focusing in on healthcare, for example, making sure they're on ZocDoc if they're a doctor, or healthcare specific websites. This is where their audience is searching. So this is where we need to make sure they get listed. Oftentimes this is an upsell to a general directory package, or it's a specific customized package that has these industry-specific directories and elements in them, so it can be addressed to a specific audience. It sells much better, it's much more relevant to the end purchaser, and overall we get much better results for that business. So it's really, it's the old marketing focus as far as, know where your audience is at and know what they want, and you have to know your customer and what industry they're in so that you can figure out what audience they're looking for. So hopefully that answers the question.
Can you give an overview of how your products are priced for partners and or to SMBs?
So typically we work through partners, and the way it works for partners is that the full package of business listings management is $599 a year. The initial discount for the partner is 25%, and the discounts continue to go down, or to go up I should say, based on volume. So the more locations under management, the lower the cost per location. But the thing to keep in mind here is most of our large partners have custom packages because they don't want to be out in the market competing head-to-head with other players selling the exact same product at the exact same price point. Also, different partners have different price points they know work with their customers. Again, going back to the auto dealer example, oftentimes a price point that's a little higher for auto dealers is actually a better thing because it provides credibility in their space, and they can compare it to other products and services in their space that are priced at a similar level versus something like a restaurant, much more price sensitive. So they may need to be at a lower level. Oftentimes our partner are selling these solutions as a monthly fee. So they're selling a monthly package, or they're bundling it in with a digital service offering, and then we're part of that offering. When it comes to SMBs, we typically don't work directly with them, and most of our partners that sell to SMBs are selling it as a monthly solution, fairly low cost, entry-level solution, and oftentimes integrated or embedded with a reputation management dashboard or other types of marketing offerings. When it comes to something like a reputation management dashboard, the implementation is very interesting. We would power the local visibility report so the business can see that their listings are not correct or accurate across the major search engines, social sites, and directories. And then there's a fix-it button that when the SMB selects that, it's a revenue opportunity for the partner and then a revenue opportunity for us. And it's a great way to have a very strong partnership and something where we provide data for the SMB to make the decision as to whether they want to fix their listings. And typically it's very powerful when they see how they actually look across these sites and how messed up their listings actually are.
Okay, can you go over the offer once more and provide your email address again?
Sure. My email is Gideon, Gideon, at localmarketlaunch.com. That's Gideon at localmarketlaunch.com. The offer code is LSA1011. And what we're offering is our full business listings management package. Local mobile landing page, top 30 claimed, enhanced, optimized profiles on search sites, directory sites, social sites, and mobile apps. Syndication across the top 4 base data providers, Factual, Axiom, Infogroup, and Newstar Localese, as well as our transparent reporting for a year. And they'll see great traction and updates as their listings get improved and their rankings increase over time. And in addition to that, there are some other features that we haven't mentioned before, like for an SMB, for example, we do include a video, which we create a video slideshow out of photos, and that again is a great vote in Google and the other search engines that this business has a video and it's very credible and it's worthwhile to show up in search engine results. It also engages consumers and again has that credibility factor, so they feel like there's more content available. It's a richer experience and they're more likely to contact that business, come in, purchase the products or services that they offer.
Okay, great. I'm not seeing any more questions coming in, so we'll finish up here. Thanks, Gideon, so much for conducting today's webinar. We really appreciate all the info. I'd also like to thank everyone for attending today. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact us at LSA, and we can connect you with today's presenter. Also, we have some exciting webinars coming up from XAD, Bing, and from us here at the Local Search Association. For more information on these, visit localsearchassociation.org/webinars. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.